Alright, for the tail, again, the horizontal stabilizer sits up here and it's flat, and it will sit pretty close to this piece here. I left a space between this face and the front of the horizontal stabilizer for fabric, because this will get covered with fabric and so will the horizontal. So I left a little bit of a gap between the two for the fabric. And you know, if weather changes, whatever, and the wood expands and contracts, you don't want one to bind against the other right here. So I left a little bit of a gap. I don't know, I think it was, maybe 3/16 or so, if that, between the two. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble again. I elected to put a solid piece of plywood here, just because it's the easiest thing to do. I figured it's, you know, simple to put just a solid sheet up here and epoxy it. It's 1/8 inch thick, it's not a lot of weight, and it strengthens up this back section a little bit, because you got the horizontal mounts to here, you got the rudder that mounts to here, you've got a tail wheel assembly that mounts on the bottom. I probably should have duplicated this down here, but I did not, because I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to do with my tail wheel assembly. I don't know how that's going to be made yet. So I wanted to leave my options open in case I got to put other things in here. So I didn't put the plywood on yet, but I suppose I could. But this just made a nice flat piece for the horizontal to sit on. And if you look at the plans, the back of the horizontal is one of those T-shaped pieces where you have I don't know what it is, I think it's a 1/2 inch piece, and then it widens out to that 1 inch piece. And what I had found is that the back of that horizontal has to be even with the back of the tail post. And what I had found out is by putting this piece here, that T piece can rest right here, and then the plywood supports the rest of it, so that trailing edge of the horizontal stabilizer, it will sit right on top of this, and then it drops down and it sits right on the top of this. That's why this notch is here. And if I had a scrap piece, I would show you exactly what I'm talking about, but that's why I left this like it is. So the horizontal is flush right here, and then it will rest on here, and then it steps up and it rests on here. And the other thing that I elected to do with the brackets for the rudder, or the vertical stabilizer, the vertical stabilizer comes down and it rests on top of the horizontal. And you've got the L brackets that attach the vertical to the horizontal. And I wanted to bolt through those brackets, through the horizontal, into a nice piece of fat spruce. So I added this additional piece here for those brackets. So now those L brackets that attach the vertical to the horizontal, they get bolted through, they get bolted this way to the vertical, and then they get bolted this way through the horizontal, through the 1/8 inch plywood, through this piece of added spruce, and then they'll get nut plated or something underneath. So this was an addition. And then of course my tail post, I have already discussed it in an earlier clip, and I've, as usual, incorporated my hinge design. This hinge is in place, and it's epoxied in place, and it's got the filler strip in here with it, and then I'll drill through it this way in 2 places and bolt all the way through with some kind of a flush T-nut or something on this other side. So that's the gist of that. And I am not really sure what else there is to cover. I've got my firewall temporarily made and temporarily in place. There's I haven't even sanded it yet. I just cut it out and put it on here with clips. These are little supports for my fuel tank, which will be talked about obviously in the fuel tank segment. My makeshift cowling template, that's all going to be covered in a different segment, but maybe I'll just go around a little bit with some just do some shots of some detail work. That metal plate there is just a what do you want to call it? A spacer for now. This is a piece of 4130. This piece here, actually this represents the motor mount brackets. The motor mount brackets get bolted to this, but they have to go through the firewall. So I just stuck this in here like that, and that gave me the required space for this piece on each end so that I can slip my motor mount brackets into here. Hey everybody, just wanted to say real quick again, thanks for checking out my YouTube videos, and just a couple of real quick tidbits before you leave. If you'd be so kind as to check out my GoFundMe page, the link is down in the description of these videos. For those of you who find it in your heart to donate for this new cause of mine, I've got another project going on, and there's some really cool things I'd like to do with this aircraft, and again, that's all explained in my GoFundMe. But if you find moved enough to go do that and donate, I've got this horizontal stabilizer skin, and donors will get their name put on this skin, and ultimately when this gets filled and the aircraft gets finished, this is going to be hung up on the wall of honor in my hangar. Just a little bit of recognition for those donors who helped make the project a reality. Another thing too is, I'm sure you've noticed that even this video that I'm making right now is of the same or worse quality than the video that you just watched, and that's because, believe it or not, this camera is the exact same camera that I filmed the original hint videos with. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not really sure why, but I know the video quality lacks, but hopefully the information within is worth something. And the other thing that I wanted to mention real quick is, again, these are little snippets from my hint video DVDs, so a lot of these individual clips just kind of come to an abrupt end. That's just the way it is when I'm trying to rip these DVDs apart and re-edit them into small little segments, and they just kind of end weird at times. But that's it. That's all I wanted to say. And again, thanks, and I hope you'll come back, check out my channel, and see if there are any new videos and updates. All right, I'll talk to you then. See you.